Greetings Muttonistas, the prime mutton has moved on to fresh pastures. Now many Turks call the city I'm in now, Gaziantep in the southeast of Turkey, as the gastronomic capital of Turkey. So I had to go and I'm going to find out along with you viewers as to whether they're telling the truth or not. And whilst the city seems to be fairly quiet at night, absolutely rammed during the day. And I have to say, when you're walking along the pavement or along a corridor, nobody ever yields, you have to yield. Now then, Muttonistas, after having to literally mow through those crowds, I've got to where I want to get to for my first food item, to Mutton restaurant. Now, they do serve a lot of sweet things, and I have to say, like every other shop I passed that wasn't selling spices and rugs and things like that, was a sweet shop. However, here they have a great reputation for serving a popular soup, a lamb soup, that's served at breakfast, and it's called bayram. And I'm going to have a bowl even though it's getting on for lunchtime. And as you can see on the left, there are pictures of the speciality I'm going to try. And I was given the option of spicy or non-spicy. Guess what I chose, Muttonistas? I don't know what's going on there, but whatever it is started when I ordered my bowl of bayram, so I'm guessing that the broth and the lamb is being fired up as we speak. So that bayram soup, it's lamb soup with rice, came very quickly. Now, whether it's spicy on its own or whether I have to add these green chilies on the side, I am not really sure. Plenty of lemon, I'm guessing I squeezed that into the soup, otherwise what's it doing there? And I think the bread is called lavash, a thicker bread than you see than the durums used to wrap donuts and stuff like that, and it's popular all over the Middle East. Now I will add the chilies and some lemon and some sumac in a moment, but I'll try it as it is on its own first. Wow, I think that's actually the spiciest thing I've had in Turkey so far. Unfortunately, the fridge isn't working, so the water I'm having to have is at room temperature, which seems to be rather oddly the way they all like it here. Well, this is a great start to the day. I'm going to be fired up after this, but let's see how it goes when we've added the lemon, the sumac and the chilies. Now I've chopped up the chilies into bits, or torn them, obviously with both hands, and I'm going to see now with the sumac and the lemon how this goes. I reckon I'm going to be on fire after this. Oh yeah, that is good. Spicy, meaty, I mean that broth is so lammy, it's incredible. The lamb, tender like torn, pulled lamb. I might have to put the bog roll in the fridge tonight if the day continues like this. Well, I made short work of that, Muttonistas, and it looked very heavy, but it wasn't. It was just a heartwarming broth with some lamb and some rice, a bit of chilli, I think a bit of paprika, and a bit of sumac, and Bob's your uncle. I'm really set for the day, and I'm going to have a look around next at some of the markets around here, maybe picking up a little snack or drink on the way. So, a lot of you who know me will know that I can't function without coffee in the morning. I suppose Turkish tea would have been okay, but I did deliberately skip the tea and coffee with my breakfast because there's a place nearby that's very famous and I want to try the coffee there. Whilst I'm not going to have an espresso here, Turkish coffee is more than an acceptable substitute. And this is actually not far from where I had breakfast, Tamis Kahvesi. I think that means coffee, and it was founded in 1635, and I believe it is a very, very traditional old location to take coffee. Well, it's very, very ornately decorated, Muttonistas. Look at all these chandeliers. I mean, that's not what you get in your average Starbucks, is it? But I suppose at the end of the day, it's all about how good the coffee is. Coffee has arrived and it is served in the most ornate cup. Just look at that. You don't get that at Betty's Tea Rooms in Harrogate, do you, folks? Anyway, for those of you who don't know, Turkish coffee is made basically by packing together coffee thickly like mud and brewing it up with hot water. So when you drink it, you don't want to spend forever drinking it, and you don't want to drink the bottom of it, otherwise you'll get a mouthful of the mud. Good, rich, strong, tasty. I can't say it's miles better than any coffee I've had here. It's good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think when it comes to Turkish coffee there's much of a difference. It's either screwed up or it's good. So that's about how much I leave to avoid getting the mud in my mouth. So the reason you have the mud at the bottom is because it's basically unfiltered. The coffee's ground up, oiled in a pot until it starts to foam, which is why you get what looks like a very dark crema on the top, and it's poured straight from the copper pot into the cup. Again, no filtering, and boy, I remember many times when I first tried Turkish coffee, I ended up with a mouthful of mud I had to spit out at the end. It's not mud, it's coffee, but it has the consistency of mud. And it seems it's such a popular brand, their coffee, that people buy it to take away. I'm now in Gaziantep's famous copper market. We'd passed a few places selling spice and dried fruit. I have to say they all seem to be selling the same sort of thing, but here they are selling mainly traditional kitchen utensils. And were I somebody who made Turkish coffee at home, I would actually probably buy a few cups. However, as you know, Muttonistas, I'm an espresso man through and through. Wow, look at those. Wouldn't those be nice if you actually made the stuff? Enough looking at shops for a gastronaut. Time now for something a little sweet that again can be eaten at breakfast time, but is eaten actually by the locals all throughout the day whenever they want. And since it's not breakfast time anymore, I will do exactly that. So every so often, Muttonistas, you pass a place that's serving food and it's absolutely heaving. Usually means it's a good idea to try something from said establishment. And I am at, I don't know how you pronounce that, Shagdash or something? Tatli and Katmer. It's a place selling sweets, it's early afternoon, still absolutely heaving. As is the case in many parts of Turkey and many Turkish dining or snack establishments, you'll often get a free taste of what they're actually selling. And here, kindly, they gave me a taste of their lokma, which is a deep-fried flour ball coated with honey or syrup, of course, and pistachio. It was way too sweet for me, so I'm glad that I was able to try before, in this case, not buying. This place was immensely popular, and if you have a sweet tooth, you might like it. Well, Muttonistas, the sickly sweet taste of that ball of sugar and pistachio and honey and whatever is still coating my mouth, so I'm glad I only had one. I wouldn't have been able to eat a portion of those, and my goodness, the people here have such a sweet tooth to be able to indulge regularly in such things. And it really is diabetes on a plate, that is. Anyway, time for a little cultural break. In the middle of the city, on a hilltop, the Hittites, who were the sort of people who lived around here, whatever BC, 1000, 1500 BC, built an observation post. The Romans came and turned it into a castle. And then after the Romans left, the Byzantines and Ottomans, well, they used it as a fortification against the Crusaders. And apparently this castle was involved in a heroic defence against French forces. Hey, hang on. Aren't the French supposed to be at the top of the towers hurling insults? Anyway, here it is in all its glory, Gaziantep Castle. Now, I believe you can actually go inside for a very minimal entry fee. I think it's only like £1 or something like that. I'll check that for you and leave a subtitle. And yes, you can clamber all the way to the top. I suppose I could have done so, but I've done plenty of walking on this trip. And anyway, I'm feeling a bit kebabish, and this is a food vlog. So, let's go for a kebab. Right, Muttonistas, I found somewhere that looks quite interesting. I went inside, saw a great display of kebabs on the display counter, and I liked the way they were charcoal barbecuing them or grilling them. So, let's go in and have a kebab. I'm absolutely starving now. They even got a salad bar, turning them out like in a factory. I just hope I can get a seat here. Guy at the grill who speaks English. He said 2 skewers is enough, so I ordered 3 just for you Muttonistas because you're joining me on this dinner. And at every table there's a little selection of meze items and the ayran, which is served from a tankard as if you're about to have a beer. Not quite the same thing, but come on England. And in case you don't realise, this film is being made on the evening England play France in the quarter-final of the World Cup. Down to the table and let me explain to you exactly what we have. We have salad, we have a sauce that's described as spicy, so I'm going to give it a little taste. I think that is the esme thing I've been having quite a lot of, and this time it's been done properly spicy. Pickled cabbage, which is a mainstay of Turkish kebab cuisine. Now I'm not sure what this is, I'm guessing it's a pickled carrot, but we'll give it a try. Yeah, it's actually carrot smothered in that spicy sauce. And now the chilies, I haven't used the lemon yet. Oh, that is the real deal. Wow. This is going to be one mighty kebab Muttonistas. And unlike most of the restaurants I've eaten in Gaziantep, this one is absolutely rammed. Okay, so when the chief kebabi, or whatever you want to call him, told me this is too much food, he's obviously never been on a mutton tour before. Let me take you down to the plate. It is a comprehensive spread, but nothing that a serious gastronaut couldn't polish off. Okay, so we have a special local lamb shish, which is a bit spicy. We have sucuk, which is a lamb sausage. You can get them with beef or lamb. In this part of Turkey, it tends to be lamb. And we have something that's very special to this region called patlıcan kebab, which is aubergines and minced lamb on a skewer. Interesting looking chilies, bit of onions and sumac, more herbs, onion and sumac there. So let's get stuck in. So that was lamb sucuk, a sausage made out of lamb. In Istanbul, I think they're usually made out of beef, but that is one of the most wonderful lamb sausages I've ever had. It is amazing. It's got a very smoky, peppery flavour, and you can certainly taste the very rich flavours of the lamb. Now, onto that lamb sheesh. That is tenderissimo, flavourissimo. And whilst beef sheesh is okay, and if you've watched some of my previous videos, I had beef sheesh, particularly up in Trabzon. This is better. Lamb is always the business when it comes to kebabs. And finally, the patlıcan, the aubergine and minced lamb. Again, it's a bit like having more of an urfa, the non-spicy minced kebab rather than an Adana, with beautifully soft and tender aubergine cooked to the perfect point again. It literally dissolves in your mouth, it's that good. Now, I've just awarded this piece a little bit of hot sauce. The other meat doesn't need anything. I'm not saying that does either, but the hot sauce obviously gets soaked up by the aubergine and it's a great compliment. Anyway, Muttonistas, I'm in kebab heaven again, and I am going to polish all of this off, I assure you, and we'll be back as soon as I have done. No problems at all, Muttonistas, no problems at all. In fact, if they don't serve bread with it, it's very easy to eat all the meat. Now, I have to say, my mouth is actually on fire, and it's not because of the pickled green chilies or the green chilies on the plate. This little bad boy here, the orange chili, was the one that caused all the damage. Fortunately, I've got some soothing ayran left to kill the heat. To be honest, I wish I could have mowed through every single kebab in that luscious display. Hopefully by the time I leave Turkey, I will have tried them in some other locations at least. So don't switch off now, there's plenty still to come. Most of it will take place tomorrow after a little sweet and some tea. So that's definitely enough kebab, savoury stuff for the day. So let's go on and have some tea and something sweet. Right, Muttonistas, after all that heavy kebabbing, a little sweet to finish the evening before we move the vlog on to tomorrow. And I've just come to one of the many sweet houses that are dotted around the city. They do have a sweet tooth, as I said earlier here. And I have gone for some baklava. Now, I always thought baklava was just baklava, but there are so many types here, it's unbelievable. So I went for the house selection of 6 with a cup of tea. And of course, everything is liberally sprinkled with honey and pistachios in this part of the world. And as you can see, this is quite a big portion actually, but there are so many different types. So I thought I owed it to myself to try some of them. I don't eat sweets when I'm not vlogging. This is probably the only day I'm going to have baklava unless it's offered for free at a restaurant or something. So let's dig in and give them a try. That, I think, is the standard type that I'm familiar with. Now, this is an interesting one, shaped a bit like a shell. I can definitely taste cream coming out of that one. Okay, better have a quick slurp to replenish the palate. Now this green looking one. That didn't taste like baklava at all actually. I don't know whether it is or not, or a special type of it. Another interesting one with, how would you describe that, with basically, would you call that layers of pastry? Or? Anyway, let's give it a whirl. Maybe that was a pastry with a ripple effect or something. Anyway, this one is definitely layered. It's with the usual pistachio filling. Okay, I have to say that tasted more like the standard or original version, that did, just with a bit more pastry. And finally, what looks like a spring roll or a log, absolutely slathered with honey and pistachios. This is going to set my sugar levels rather high. So that round one was basically like the classic one, but the pastry was lighter, so I liked that as well. The one I liked the most was the one where the cream oozed out. Anyway, I'm stuffed and I couldn't manage the proverbial wafer thin mint, So what will be an overnight rest for me will be a few seconds for you, and I'll be right back with you for some more delicious food offerings from Gaziantep. Welcome back, Muttonistas. You ready to go again? I certainly am. And we're going to carry on with one of Gaziantep's most famous snacks, although some people do actually choose to make a meal out of it. It's called the lamashine. It's something I featured from one of my Istanbul videos, and what it is, it's a very, very thinly rolled piece of dough with minced lamb, herbs, tomatoes, and sometimes chilli placed on top, and put in the oven and cooked in the style of a pizza. But it's not really a pizza, even though they call it a Turkish pizza, because there's one big thing missing that's usually on a pizza, and that's cheese. And to be honest, there's a lot less tomato than you'd get on an Italian pizza. Anyway, let's head in and check it out, because hopefully I've found the right place to take this delicacy. Okay, the name of the establishment is City Lamashine. Now, I'll be lucky actually to get a table. It seems absolutely packed out, but with any luck, we will be okay. And like in most Turkish establishments, all of the condiments are being pre-prepared so they can be whacked out quickly. And a couple of items already made. I don't know if that's display or whether they're ready to go out. And in the background, lots of iron ready to dish out. And as you can see, the oven's doling out lots of lovely lamashines. In, out in 20 minutes, and Bob's your uncle. I hadn't even sat down and the condiments arrived. And of course, so have my drinks. The usual thing, water and iron. Those irons were all pre-prepared. I think it's come from a pack again. You can tell usually when it's not because it's all frothy on top. And I don't know what this actually is. It looks like some kind of eggplant or aubergine meze item, but we'll give it a try. And the pide has come out almost instantly as well. Wow. Slightly bigger than the previous one I had, and you can see as usual peppers, tomatoes, herbs, and actually not that much minced meat on it, which is probably a better thing. And I've actually unfolded it. It came folded for a pretty good reason, because you eat it folded. I'm not going to bother with the chilies, herbs and the turnip. I'm just going to give it a thorough dousing in lemon. Anyway, on to the matter at hand, the lamashine itself. Now, I don't order pizza very often at all, anywhere, simply because you're eating half a loaf of bread most of the time. Minced lamb, a little chilli actually, it's got a little something to it, peppers, tomatoes, and a delightfully thin crust. It's almost crispy. It certainly is crispy at the edge, which is why you fold it up. Now, some people make a meal of this. For me, this is a street food snack. It might look big in terms of the circumference of the bread, but it's so thin and so light that it really is a snack. Anyway, I'll be back with you one snack later. Oh, and before I do carry on eating, one thing I wasn't fast enough to film, one of the waiters just came round with a big plate of steaming hot fresh lamashines, asking me if I wanted seconds. Well, I could easily eat 4 or 5 of these, but I don't want to because I've got bigger fish to fry, Muttonistas. But that's incredible how you can just sit here and lamashine away all afternoon if you really wanted to. Quite delicious, Muttonistas, quite delicious. I'll tell you what, the first time I had one of these, I didn't realise you were supposed to squeeze lemon all over it. And it makes a difference, it really adds to the flavour. And I have to say, I find the quality of Turkish lemons to be quite outstanding. I mean, they are absolutely bursting with flavour. Anyway, a couple more stops on the vlog, so I'd better drink up and move on. Okay folks, time for a quick local beverage. Now, a viewer told me I should try something called salad, which is some ground tubers mixed with milk, I think, which makes a tea-like beverage. I've never had it before, no idea how it's going to taste, but having failed to acquire it in Trabzon, the place opposite my hotel said they had it but didn't, this place advertises it on 3 different signs, so I'll be very disappointed if they don't have it. Okay, let's give it a go. At the booth, held up something and asked me whether I wanted it on there. I'm guessing it's cinnamon, and so he sprinkled some on. I was just guessing basically that if he suggested it. It was the right way to take the beverage. That is what it's like, and I'm not sure whether I'm actually going to like this or not, but only one way to find out. Yes, I'd say it's either porridge, very sweet porridge, or it's like rice pudding but the rice has gone missing somewhere. Okay, I really need to clean my mouth out with an espresso after that. One more stop after this, and yes, it's kebab o'clock again. Okay, that salep has absolutely coated my mouth, so I've gone in for a quick snack in the local mall because I needed to buy something there, and I stumbled upon a little something that's very popular in Turkey that I haven't shown you yet. I've passed a few more traditional outlets selling this, but I happen to be here, so needs must. I don't like bringing food from places like this, but it's only a little snack, so I'll show you what it is anyway. Borek are very popular throughout the Middle East, Central Asia. I believe they are popular on Saturday mornings, I think, in the Jewish religion. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they are very thin, flaky pastry type of pies, really, with fillings such as spinach and cheese, sometimes meat, sometimes potatoes. But I've had them before, and I think the cheese ones are by far the best. I doubt it'll be a strong cheese, but that would be the ticket to take away the taste of that salep. British viewers will know where I'm coming from if I describe it as a sophisticated cheese pasty. Of course, it's not like that runny stuff in a cheese and onion pasty, but it's basically a cheese pie, but with thin, almost phyllo-type pastry. And I can feel that sickly sweet taste melting and oozing away in my mouth as it's replaced by, admittedly, a very light and mild cheesy flavour. The cheese they use here, of course, is feta, probably no big surprise, but if you're aware of these being made in other countries where a different cheese is used, please drop me a note in the comments section, because I'd be interested to hear. Now, that leads me on to a couple of other things. Or mainly one big topic. People have been writing to me asking me about safety aspects. Now, I don't think this town or Turkey is at all unsafe. In terms of terrorism and stuff like that, it won't be aimed at you. It's mainly Kurdish agitation with the government. Very rare something happens. I mean, let's face it, stuff happens in the UK, the US and elsewhere every so often. The Turkish military and police have a fairly good grip on things. And in terms of personal safety, again, the chances of something violent happening to you are probably actually less, I'd say, than in your own countries, with a few obvious exceptions. Having said that, the one thing you need to be aware of is, like in a lot of Asian countries, and it seems to be particularly so here, that hallowed 15 centimetre radius that you keep between yourself and other people doesn't seem to be observed. So you'll find places are often very crowded and people are a lot closer to you than you'd normally be comfortable with. I'm constantly just looking around because I'm terrified of pickpockets and my camera equipment being lifted. I am a bit paranoid, but I'd actually advise you all to be here too, because the thing is, in Europe, or in Western Europe at least, in the US and Canada and other first world countries, people don't stand that close to you. And if you're aware of them, your reaction would be to swivel round and check what's going on. That's if you can detect them there, of course. Here, I just step aside and let them pass. I don't want people that close to me. So that little caveat aside, I think it's very safe. I don't even think there's even a pickpocketing problem here. Maybe in Istanbul, but no worse than anywhere else. Okay, Muttonistas, I'm in the splendid surroundings of the castle area again, and the place I wanted to go to, well, the hours are not only wrong on Google, they're wrong on their own website, unless they've just randomly closed early. However, I did pass a place with the most amazing looking kebab display called Yeni Ustas. Okay, the pre-kebab setup you should be all used to by now, Muttonistas. the ayran, the salad, the pickled carrots, the pickled chilies. Don't know how hot these ones are going to be, but they look hot with lemon. And our favourites, the onions, herbs, and they're going to be sumac to death. And I'm pleased to report that we are being served a bonus sig kofta for free. Ooh, you can't beat a bit of sig kofta, lads, can you? Aha, this is cabbage with yogurt? Yeah, okay, thank you. I have to admit, I haven't had a proper meze yet on this trip, but do you really need one when all this stuff comes with every kebab you order? Of course, we will taste one first to ascertain how spicy they are, and if they're not very spicy, then we have ways of making them spicy. As usual, we're going to eat it with the lettuce, because that seems to be the done thing if it's not served in a wrap here. Obviously the vegetarian version, and I'm pleased to tell you, no chilies required here. It's spicy enough on its own. The old pickled carrot. Yeah, that's okay, doesn't do a huge amount for me. But now, the one I haven't tried before, the cabbage in yogurt, or yogurt for some of you. He only brought this as an afterthought, but I have to say, I think it's going to complement the kebabs perfectly. Okay, the Primemutton a grazing will go, and I'll be right back with you when my kebab has been prepared. Now feast your eyes on this, Muttonistas, but this is not an exercise in accountancy, this is an exercise in showing you how good the food is here. So down to the table we go, and we have chicken wings, something I'm surprised is so popular here, and given it's so popular I thought I'd better order some. Adana kebab, the spicy minced lamb kebab, or beef usually in Istanbul, which had been so disappointing on numerous occasions when I had eaten there. I think I had one good one. Then we have marinated lamb shish. It's possible to order unmarinated, I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, and one of the local specialities for sure, liver kebab. And in fact my original choice of venue I sought out because of their reputation for liver kebab. Given that's what we came for, we may as well dive straight in there. Oh, that again is beautiful. I know it's cooked through, and I know that when I go to Spain, France, Italy, I order all this raw meat, but given it's cooked through, it's cooked to exactly the right point. You just can't beat that. Juicy, well marinated, and I think it's been cooked in its own fat, a bit like the Platter in Pakistan, but not involving quite as much fat. And now, the shish. That just melts in your mouth. Again, a beautiful marinade. I'm not quite sure what they actually put in the marinade. It must be some combination of these herb spices that are lying next to the kebab grill. Maybe a little oil or butter, maybe a little bit of yogurt. I don't think there's any yogurt in this one. Right, and now the Adana. Now this is very important. I've had too many bad ones. Okay, we're not in Adana, but we're nearby. And this city is so famous for its kebabs, I'll be really quite disappointed if this isn't good. Actually, that lamb shish, the marinade's a bit spicy. I got caught out by that at the finish of my piece of meat. Right, back on an even keel again to try the Adana. That is exactly what I've been looking for in an Adana kebab, and although one Adana I had was okay in Istanbul, nothing came even close to what I've just put in my mouth there. And finally a chicken wing. Bit odd actually that I've ordered a chicken wing. I don't normally order them, but let's see if this is finger-licking good. I'm pretty sure this has been nowhere near Colonel Sanders' blend of secret spices and herbs or whatever he says about his fried chicken. Right, here we go. It's a pretty big and meaty wing that is, isn't it, Muttonistas? Oh yeah, again, so tender, moist and juicy. And whatever they've marinated it in, it's actually a bit peppery. Very interesting way of preparing wings. And let's see if I'm right about the cabbage and yogurt going well with it. Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, the cabbage and yoghurt complements the kebab beautifully. Cabbage isn't too sharp. Sometimes in European Turkish restaurants it's way too pickled. I thought at first it might be fresh cabbage, but it's very, very lightly pickled. One thing left to try, which is the onion, sumac, tomato and herb salad that comes on the side of the kebab platter. Here we go. A little piece of shish to go with it. Really beautiful. And I can't leave you to polish this off without giving the chilies a thorough examination. The boys behind me are enjoying themselves as well. And the chili, again, is quite hot, but it's not going to blow your head off. Well, it won't blow mine off anyway. Okay, I've got some serious business to attend to here, and I'll be back with you when the office is closed. Just one more thing to point out. It is possible to actually eat all that meat, but if you're going to do so, you've got to make sure you go easy on those carbs. There's a piece of bread underneath the meat which is soaking up the fat. If I have any bread, which I probably won't, I would definitely have some of that. But they have provided some bread. I can't see it being used. Not out, says the umpire. I polished that all off. One of those chilies was actually a bit of a slow burner and it exploded into life. So I've got a wonderful hot taste in my mouth. Now, one thing that I didn't spot at first, the lamb tikka had delicious chunks of fat attached to it. They were basically underneath the cubes of lamb. And that made it very rich, juicy and tasty. Have to say, even without it, it was rich, tender and juicy. But well, this is up there with one of the best kebabs I've had on this trip for sure. I am so happy the place I intended to go to wasn't open. Anyway, my tea has now arrived, so that kind of means the end of the meal, and it means the end of the vlog. Hope you've enjoyed this massive food tour of Gaziantep. But don't worry, Muttonistas, there's more to come from Gaziantep and more to come from other parts of Turkey. But until then, I'm going to love you and leave you. Keep liking, keep sharing, keep subscribing. But most of all, don't forget, you can't beat a bit of mutton.